In this podcast, I would like to present a business case as to why investing in women and youth power in Africa is not only a moral imperative but also a strategic necessity for the continent's sustainable growth. I would argue that the investment matters for six major reasons. Which are these reasons? These are human capital potential, economic growth, demographic transition, gender equality and poverty eradication, resilience amidst crisis, and the growth of MSMEs. Let me first talk about accelerating access to finance for women and youth. Financial inclusion is seen as a major driver of economic development in Africa. However, access to financial services by the women and youth and their corresponding enterprises is still limited across the continent. Gender plays a particularly important role as women and youth are much more financially excluded than men are. The various challenges experienced by women and youth differ from country to country and region to region across the continent. In some countries, women and youth have only limited access to credit or insurance products, while in other countries, they have more difficulties opening a banking account and face access barriers to any significant financial product. These diverse constraints offer many opportunities for improving women's and youth's financial inclusion and are often linked to reaching overall developmental goals. More recently, as we are all aware, the COVID 19 crisis has had a significant and most adverse impact in Africa, reversing the major gains Africa had made. There are estimated 31 million Africans who have been pushed back into poverty due to the pandemic. Many households have been rapidly running through their financial cushions and have been selling off assets to cope with the effect of pandemic. The pandemic also saw a sharp increase in gender violence. Confinement, fastened tension, and increased lockdowns led to an increase in violence behind closed doors, which is not amply documented. Notwithstanding, many women and men lost their livelihood, and this pushed families deeper into poverty. On a comparative scale, more women in Africa today lack access to capital than men do. This gap adversely affects women, their families, and their communities. It also means that investors overlook many potentially lucrative ventures. Women are also more likely to become entrepreneurs, not because they are excellent at it, but because they lack better opportunities. Increasing women's and youth's financial literacy on the continent is one way to close the gap, on the financial gap. In Africa, roughly 35 million women are not signed up for any financial service, such as a bank or a mobile money account. Numerous global research studies show that financially literate entrepreneurs make more informed financial decisions overall and assess their creditworthiness more objectively. Today, women and youths form Africa's economic backbone, and their full economic empowerment is crucial to increase productivity levels, enhance economic efficiency, and improve overall development outcomes to achieve inclusive and sustainable growth. Supporting women and youth entrepreneurs on the continent is, is not just good economics, it is also crucial to Africa's sustainable economic development. Two long standing issues regarding the promotion of women and youth's financial inclusion in Africa are the removal of discriminatory legal provisions that assign women the legal status of minors and prohibit them from owning property, and needed changes to strengthen women's land ownership rights. There are opportunities for digital financial service providers, including both incumbents and new entrants, to serve the unbanked women and youth if they can develop and offer more convenient, faster, secure, and flexible products with lower fees that serve women and youth specific needs. The mainstream view of economists is that supply chain constraints such as high interest rates and collateral requirements play a major role in excluding women and youth from the formal credit market. Credit rationing through high interest rates disproportionately discourages women entrepreneurs from applying for loans, while lack of collateral can mean they have less access to loans than their male counterparts. And when they do have access, women typically face more stringent loan arrangements than men. As per a World Bank report, reducing the gap in access to finance can have a dramatic impact on social and economic progress since women dominate African agriculture. The continent's most important sector is agriculture, and women do 60 to 80% of the work in agriculture. Access to financial products and services, including for payments and transfers, savings, credit, and insurance, at a cost affordable to the women and youth who are vulnerable and poor, is, according to me, very critical for Africa's growth and development. As a matter of fact, in sub Saharan Africa, barely 37% of women have access to bank accounts in comparison to 48% of menfolk. Evidently, in North Africa, mere 33% of the adult population have access to a bank account. In this region, there is apparently a difference of 18% between men and women in accessing institutional finance. Notably, even in economies like Kenya, which is well developed and has a relatively vibrant financial ecosystem, the strength of the supply side is not matched by the development on the demand side. We all know, and it has been often said, that Africa has the world's youngest population, with 65% of the population being under the age of 35. African youth account for 60% of all Africa's unemployed. And as a matter of fact, about one third of Africa's 420 odd million youth are unemployed. When money is put in women's hands, there is improved quality of life, as many researchers have supported this hypothesis that women tend to use up to 85% of the income within the home. The result is education is improved, dietary and child nutrition improves in quality and quantity, poverty is reduced, thereby it increases the self-esteem. All these leads to improved quality of life for the family as a unit, communities, and entire Africa. With access to finance, women and youth are more likely to better themselves by improving their skills, business conditions, and their livelihoods. Africa youth labor underutilization, that is, the number of young people who are not in employment, education, or training, is the highest globally, reflecting that many young people in Africa are currently not contributing to self development or to national development by acquiring skills or engaging in work. On the African continent, young people represent, as I mentioned earlier, a promising yet untapped source of opportunities for disruptive innovation and for transforming economies. In fact, 8% of Africa's young girls were unemployed in 2024. The rate of unemployment among young males was slightly lower at 7%. We should bear in mind that Africa's youth population is expected to double to over 830 million by 2050. I would like to emphasize that investing in young people's skills and education is critical to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. A trained labor force is essential to achieve and sustain inclusive economic growth and transformation in Africa. The importance of education is highlighted in SDG 4, which is ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. This goal encompasses various dimensions that are critical to supporting young workers' transition into the labor market and career progression. In the SDG target of 4.3, which states that by 2030, ensure equal access for all women and men to affordable, quality technical, vocational, and tertiary education, including university. High quality vocational education and training prepares young people for the labor market and addresses the skill requirement of the workplace. Finally, by way of conclusion, let me touch upon the role and the significance of MSME, micro, small, medium enterprises, in empowering women and youth in Africa. In Africa, MSME constitute nearly 90% of all businesses, generate over two-thirds of employment opportunities, and are becoming hubs of innovation. This means that MSMEs could play a vital role in facilitating Africa's industrialization, agriculture development, food security, and above all, structural transformation to accelerate the implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. However, despite their undeniable impact, women and youth led enterprises often face, as I mentioned earlier, significant barriers to accessing markets beyond borders and building resilient value and supply chains. There is growing recognition of the importance of addressing these challenges to women and youth entrepreneurship in order to transform our economies and build resilient societies. For Africa, there is need to redouble efforts to unlock the transformative, paradigm changing potential of women and youth led MSMEs by connecting them to the opportunities available under the single African market facilitated by free movement of persons, goods, services, and investment across borders. By empowering these enterprises with improved access to markets, financing, and technology, we can enable them to thrive and make substantial contribution to the continent's transformation. Connecting the unconnected women and youth led MSMEs across Africa involves linking ideas, linking people, linking products, and forging invaluable partnership that will drive progress and unlock the immense potential within these MSMEs. Thank you very much.